Roasting. So when we are roasting, we're not only looking at the chemical changes, but we're also looking at the color changes. So as the coffee develops, you find it goes into a light brown or cinnamon color, if I would compare it to that. Then it goes a bit darker than that to what we call a medium roast, something that is close to or a bit lighter than chocolate for an ordinary person, like the one we're going to do here.
This is medium roast.
Yes, and anything darker than that, you're moving into the dark roast, something which is almost resembling charcoal.
So if I may ask, the medium roast makes it, is it mild, sour? When I make it so dark, what happens? If my roast seeds are so dark, what happens?
You're going to lose out on certain properties. Yes, certain properties will be fully developed, but certain properties will be burnt out. Yes.
Okay, that's amazing. I believe someone who's watching out there, your questions are a little bit, we are trying to answer them. So one by one, we are going to get there. So for now, we've, I think, discussed the color of the coffee seeds. We discussed about the percentage. At which percentage do I know that now my roast seeds are now ready to go for market?
That will depend on the roast that you're looking for and the roasting machine that you're looking at. So I think what you're trying to look at is probably at which degree of roast rather than percentage.
Rather than percentage. You know, coffee has its also different language.
Exactly.
So in your language of coffee, it is degrees.
Degree
it is measured
roast.
in degrees.
Yes.
So what are the different degrees, types of degrees that you know now? This degree, it is mild, or you called it medium.
Medium, light, and
medium,
dark.
Light,
and dark roast.
And dark roast. So at what degrees do you know that this is now medium, this is dark roast, or light?
Yeah, that will depend on the kind of machine you're using. If you're using the smaller machines, they work with smaller temperatures from about 150 to 180 degrees Celsius. If you're using bigger machines, we'll go up to 200, 210 degrees for the medium roast, and anything bigger than that, it will also depend on the type of machine, the manufacturer, the kind of metal the machine is made of. Yeah.
So when you talk about machines, it means for each roast seeds, I have to have a machine to have a quality coffee, or it doesn't have levels?
Yeah, good thing you say to have a quality coffee. Yes, because somebody may be out there asking, now I cannot afford a machine and I'm a farmer. I want to test my coffee, so how do I do this?
Exactly.
Yes, you can easily do what we call a traditional roasting, where you get your...
You mean like putting on my charcoal stove?
Yes, on your charcoal stove, you get your pan, you heat it up just like you do the groundnuts, and then you put your coffee and you start mixing it on the fire as you're visualizing, you're watching the coffee until it reaches the color that you want.
All right, thank you so much. I believe everyone who is watching right now, you're now getting the gist of the coffee. And for the coffee lovers out there, the place to be at is at Cafe at 2. We are located at Thobani Center. That is level 2. So you just walk in, ask for any type of coffee, and you're going to be attended to. So before we got to the roasting, for the coffee cupping process, someone out there wants to know, what are the types of coffee, different types of coffee that a beginner should look out for to start up the process?
Thank you very much. Actually, in Uganda, we are blessed that we have two of the most commonly traded types of coffee, which are Arabica coffee and Robusta coffee. There are so many types of coffee, but those that are mainly traded are those two types. And it is very fortunate that in Uganda we have both the Robusta coffee in the lowlands and the Arabica coffee, which is mainly in the highlands. So those are the two types of coffee somebody can look out for.
I'm seeing different men. They call them baristas. What is their
Yeah, baristas.
They are baristas with machines. Are they manual? Can I also afford such a machine for starters? Before we go through the process of coffee cupping, what are the machines? What machines do I need to make sure I go through this process? Maybe you can take us through a little bit.
First of all, you will need a sample roaster. What you're going to use to roast your samples.
So where is the sample roaster here?
We don't have it here because the samples were pre-prepared. Yes, you need to do it 24 hours before. You prepare your samples 24 hours before you actually analyze them. Yes, and it's also a bulky machine. You cannot move it from the lab and then here and then there. Yes, but at least you need a sample roaster. But for somebody who cannot afford one, you can start with a traditional way of roasting if you want to know your own quality from your own farm. Then you will need a water boiler, a kettle, somewhere where you can boil water.
I think the camera person should help me.
We have we have a simple kettle that we're using to boil our water.
Okay. But
yes.
If I'm in the village, I can just use my saucepan and boil the water.
And boil your water.
So at what degrees should my water be at?
When we are brewing, we need our water to be at least not below 92 degrees Celsius. Not below that.
So without wasting much of your time, I think we are going to go through the cupping process so that everyone can see how they do the cupping process. If you're out there at home and you want to try it out, this is the real time that you need to give us, and we show you how the coffee cupping process goes. So kindly take us through the process.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm told we have different guests here. You're so much welcome. You can take the stage. We want to do this with you. Mr. Henry. If you want to have the best coffee, this is the time that you need to focus and see how it is made.
Okay. All right. All right. So we are getting on to the cupping session already. All right, so what we do, we have at least 5 cups per sample so that we can tell how uniform the sample is. So each sample here, we have a washed Arabica, we have a natural Arabica, and a natural Robusta. Washed and so those are the different processes. Yes, they are both Arabicas, but this went through a wet process.
What is wet process?
Yeah, it's a bit a lengthy process, but within the primary processing, the coffee gets washed. That's why they normally call it washed. And then the other, which is natural, it goes through a more natural process where it's harvested and then sun dried. So it's pretty natural. No water used in this process. Yeah.
Okay, let me understand. So we have 3. We have washed, we have natural, and
a natural Robusta.
Oh, this is natural Robusta.
Yes.
So the two are the same, the process same.
Yes.
It's just Arabica and Robusta.
Yes.
So this one is naturally processed. Just get it, dry it, no water. This one has more process.
Yes.
You harvest it and then
you pulp
wash
it,
and
you
then
ferment it, then you wash it.
It sounds like not very organic.
No, it is organic.
It is
because
organic.
all the material you're using is organic.
It's organic, natural.
Yes.
Okay.
you've added the step of processing with water.
There's no water. There's no water.
The same as
Okay.
that.
Can you?
It doesn't have washed. Yeah,
If you choose to process Robusta
yeah.
washed, it can also be done.
Okay, we just
But
don't
this
have it.
particular sample is natural Robusta.
Yeah. Okay.
And also, most people in the country for Robusta, they do natural. It's washed is on rare occasions.
Okay.
Yes.
Why is it so?
One, the price difference, because you're putting in a lot, but the end price. Yes.
And if
yeah.
you wash Arabica and Robusta, the price is different as well?
Yes, it's different.
Is it more costly?
Of course, the washed process is more costly because you're putting in a lot. You're putting in labor, water, machinery that is involved. Definitely.
So what you should ask is the washed Arabica
And the natural.
and the natural. You're going to test. That's why you're here.
Yes. You're going to? Yeah.
Discover and get the answer. We expect you to get the answer yourself.
Yeah.
After testing, washed and testing the natural, both Arabica, your tongue
Yes.
should pick if there's a
Let's set the microphone. So.
sorry.
The microphones.
They are working.
Maybe they switched off.
No, the mics are on. They're here.
Yeah. So your question was, does the test differ? And I was saying that's why you're here. You're going to test and get the answer yourself. The only difference is the way in which the coffee is grown in the same garden, harvested from the trees in the same garden. You may choose to follow the washed process, and you may choose to dry it and leave it natural. At the end of the day, when we go through this cupping session, you get the difference because some customers prefer washed, some customers prefer natural. Okay? And that is the market that we serve. What does the market want? Some customers will say, I'd like to buy washed Arabica. Then this is what you will source for them.
What seems to be what seems to be sold more in terms of washed and natural?
Okay. Before I answer that, I actually wanted to take us through what we're going to be doing so that we can ask the question as we are cupping.
Twagala sente. Twagala sente. Twagala sente.
Temwagala banyonyola. Exactly. So let us first go through the cupping process, and then once we get a hang of it, then we shall do the questions as we are cupping, because some of your questions are actually going to be answered as you're cupping. Okay. So what we first did is to weigh each cup individually. 10 grams for each cup, that is taking about 190 mils. 10 grams per cup. Reason is because of extraction time. Yes. The extraction time we're using, extraction time is the time the water takes to extract whatever is in the ground particles of the coffee. So that is the extraction time. So for the one that we're using, we're going to have an extraction time of about 4 minutes. Yes. And then also, we don't want our coffee to over-extract. We don't want it to under-extract. That's why we're using those ratios that have been proven scientifically. So after that, we are going to grind every cup individually. Yes, like we're doing. So I want us, there's another grinder behind there. We can get one and we can grind this and we try it ourselves. And the grind that we are going for medium grind. So we can actually come and try it. You can actually come and. So what we do, we're going to first clean our grinder or flush our grinder with a little bit of coffee that we're going to grind. So then you'll turn this around. This is what we call a manual grinder. It doesn't need electricity at all. Yes. Yeah, just like this very able-bodied gentleman that we have here. So when that is done, we shall discard, and then we start grinding the sample. Yes, because this one we're using it to flush the grinder, to remove any ground of any previous coffee so that it doesn't affect our sample. Yes, then after when we start grinding our sample, we don't have any foreign odors, foreign coffees that are mixing with our sample.
The beets that you have taken out, doesn't it affect
the weight?
The weight, yes.
No, because I didn't get it from the weighed cup. I got it from the sample.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Oh. So it won't affect. So after we have ground, we're going to do our first evaluation, which is to get the dry fragrance or the dry aroma from the coffee powder. Yes, so once we are done, we shall illustrate how that is done, and then we move on to brewing.
I feel like I'm in a chemistry class.
Exactly. So today we brought the chemistry class to the coffee shop. Exactly. Yeah, so once we're done with our grinding, yes, we're going to grind all of them as our water is also boiling. You can actually start with noting down some different aromas that are in the cups that have already been ground. We have our natural Robusta that is over here. So this sample is done. And this one, we have our natural Robusta, we have our natural Arabica, and we have our washed Arabica. So I can just demonstrate to you how we are going to do that. So when we are cupping, we usually don't lift the cups because we don't know maybe what kind of lotion that you have used, cocoa butter, and we don't want it to get stuck on the cup. Before you know it, we shall be saying this coffee smells like cocoa or chocolate or like your perfume. Yeah, so you'll have adulterated the sample. What we do, we move our bodies, and then you sniff. You take a gentle sniff, and you think, as you're sniffing, you think about the different aromas that are around us in food, in nuts, in flowers. It's what you're going to get in the coffee. So you sniff and try to identify what aromas are in the cup, in the different cups. It's very simple. Yes, we were doing it during COVID, but there's what we call a safe cupping protocols that we are using during COVID. So you can feel free to do that. While you're doing that, you identify the strongest aroma or the strongest fragrance you're getting, and then see how different it is from this sample. So you may try to hold your hair back.
So we use all our senses when we are doing the cupping process. She will use the sense of smell. What aroma how does it? They are different because now next we will go on the... It's the same. All the
So you can try to think about what does the aroma remind you of. Have you ever eaten something that smells like that? Have you ever come across something that smells like that?
It would have been good if we had our notebooks so that we can write down as we go through the process.
I'm trying to, especially the aromas you're supposed to be.
And that is now what we need to describe, what we are picking up. Okay, okay.
But defining the aroma is where the tricky part is.
Is this the one you took from Paul?
Oh, it smells like
You got it from Paul? Yes, it's supposed to go here. It's a skill that is developed. It's a skill that is developed, and you will be able to differentiate at some point after much training. You will be able to differentiate even without looking and say, this is coffee from such and such a place. This is coffee from such and such a place. Yeah.
like for me for a minute, this was a bit stronger. The smell was a bit light. The strength of the smell here.
So we do.
Maybe, if I may ask, what does this remind you of? Is it similar to anything you've ever eaten? Does it smell like anything that you've ever come across? Like what?
Okay. You want me to talk about all these?
No.
Okay.
What you felt when you
When I
smell
smelled Robusta, it smells like burnt ginnuts.
burnt ginnuts.
Arabica natural smells like rotten ginnuts for me. Yeah.
That's what she picked.
That's what I
That's
felt.
what she picked.
And this
That's what she picked.
smelled more realistic for me
Have
to
you tried
drink.
this yet?
I was going to take the note down, but I've forgotten. But it smells more applicable. I can't now remember. But yeah, maybe maize or something. But this smells better for me.
Okay,
Washed Arabica.
there is something that we call a flavor wheel, which is actually more complicated for people who are doing this professionally. So all the different aromas, a human being can be able to memorize over 2,000 aromas in your memory. But for coffee, we normally work with only 36. Yes, and these aromas that we find around us in the different foods, in the different fruit, the different flowers. So you are absolutely right when you say this is nutty.
Yeah.
Yes, so something that looks like this, you can find the different spicy flavors, different fruity, floral, yes, which help us to differentiate our coffees, one coffee from another. So that is why you find you are getting more of the nutty. I don't know, somebody else can tell us something else they got.
On this one, I got like the sweeteners. Some aroma like the natural sweeteners, yeah. This one was like coffee. Yeah, like coffee. Yeah.
I think for me the lesson is first of all to be able to understand the different aromas you're comparing with. If you don't have a grip on that, then you can't be able to tell the smell you're getting in terms of similarity.
I think you need to take it more often. You need to be a coffee taker, isn't it? For you to tell.
And at some point, my mind went blank. I was just sniffing. Just
I agree.
Okay, let me give you a simple clue. Now, this nutty of ours, like when we are drying, we dry it with a pulp. Okay? What with the pulp? Okay? From the tree.
With the powder.
Ah.
Still on it. Before hulling.
So our coffee pulp, like we can compare it with berry notes. You know how strawberries taste like, how they smell like. Let me say, if you have ever like smelled Rabena juice, try and see. Ribena,
So,
strawberries.
so just briefly, this is how we get to appreciate how somebody has been able to build a skill and a career in quality analysis. So, because for most people who have done this, I've been doing this for 10 years. So it takes a bit of time to get used to the different aromas and the different classifications. That is why today I didn't even come with a cupping form, because I knew a lay person would not even understand
Okay,
how to go about it.
I think my big takeaway up to this point is that this is for the long haul. We have to be very patient and learn detail. We're not going to learn everything right now.
No.
But I think already I appreciate how far I have come. Now I can drink coffee. Now I know there are different smells. Yeah? Now, but I need to know now the different cells. Because to agara sent.
Exactly. So I think we can move on to the next step, which is brewing. So at least today we should leave here with a target. I can identify a Robusta. I can identify a natural Arabica. I can identify a washed Arabica. Then we move on to, so how much can I get from a washed Arabica? How much can I get from a natural? So that we see tufuna sente mekaze twagala. So as they're bringing the water, I need somebody to help us with the timing. We're going to brew for exactly 4 minutes. Okay, somebody can help me. So one of our guests can help us. He can help us to brew. Before. Yes. Yes. So we start timing at exactly 4 minutes. So you're going to put 4 minutes on your timer. So, and as we do that, we pour the water gently in a circular motion so that we cover every particle. So you're ready? Okay, you can start.
Gently.
And you fill it up to the brim. No.
That was a bit, maybe you were holding. Okay, now that's.
Paul, young is Amo.
But I think also this tool is limited. The lead on the. The other one would have been better.
All right, so right now we are basically counting down the seconds for our brew. And once it is done, we shall start evaluating the wet aroma, and then we shall also start capping after that. Yes. Basically, the first time what we did is we're getting
What were we doing?
the dry fragrance.
So this process
or
was
the dry aroma
this process of pouring the water.
is brewing.
That's brewing.
Yes.
So what's the wet?
The wet aroma is now you're going to get the aroma with the coffee, because
coffee.
now the aroma is coming up with the vapor of the water. So that's why we call it wet aroma.
So is it different when we were sniffing at first? Is it a different aroma after brewing, or is the same aroma?
that is what I want us to find out.
Oh, okay.
So our time is up, and how we are going to do that, you get your spoon, you rinse it in hot water so that you can get rid of any foreign odors or smell, not adulterate our sample. Then we are going to just take 3 swirls on top of our coffee while we are sniffing. Again, we don't move the cup, we move our bodies. So we do that, excuse me.
This is BTM. We transform.